Jury deliberations in the case against two former First Energy executives continue today in what's being called the largest bribery scheme in Ohio history. But was the $4.3 million a bribe to the future Public Utilities Commission of Ohio chair, or is this a misunderstanding and the real corruption is from Sam Randazzo, the man who received the money? We're bringing back our 21 News at 5 legal expert, attorney Brian Kopp, to walk us through potential outcomes. Brian, thank you for taking the time.
It's good to be here. Good afternoon.
Appreciate you joining us. And this case has taken 6 weeks to go to jury deliberations. What arguments have the defense and prosecution really given the jury to consider in a case like this?
Well, in public corruption type cases like this, and you have the federal government, you have RICO statute and allegations of bribery. We see these things a lot, Hobbs Act violations. These are all scenarios where somebody's trying to get a benefit for themselves or for their company in exchange for, in this case, bribery. The defense appears to be that these were more types of lobbying efforts, although I have not followed every aspect of the evidence in on the case. But it takes a long time to prove a conspiracy of this magnitude.
And when you're talking about a long timetable like this, what are jury members trying to determine during deliberation?
Well, the deliberation process is pretty general across courts, which is the judge charges the jury on the law. And that seems to be very rudimentary, but, we all have an understanding of what we think right and wrong is. But the law sets forth each and every element of a crime, and it charges jurors on how they are to evaluate evidence, what they are to consider, the standard of proof that applies. And so that in and of itself can be a long process, a day, sometimes longer than a day in a case like this. And then the jurors are put back in and they'll choose a foreman so that there's a person that will communicate with the court if questions arise. But you would expect on a case that's lasted weeks that if the jury is really intent on going through the evidence, they could be in there for a period of days.
And just maybe laying some groundwork here, what charges are the defendants facing?
Well, when you get into the federal indictment, and I don't know which ones because I didn't see the charge, but I believe they all went back. So you're talking about things that surround public corruption and the conspiracy aspects. So RICO, bribery, Hobbs Act violations. The RICO statute has a conspiracy section that lays out predicate acts. So there are a lot of what people generally would refer to as abusing the power of an office for your own financial benefit.
And if Jones and Dowling in this case are found not guilty, will they still face charges for the $61 million given for House Bill 6?
That's people kind of mistake that a lot. Is states have the right to bring charges, and so does the federal government. So if you are committing a crime in the city of Youngstown, you're offending the city of Youngstown, the county of Mahoning, the state of Ohio, and possibly the federal government. So the discretionary aspect of charging somebody or charging them in different venues within the same city, state, or county, or in the same district, federal court, that's up to the prosecutors. But when the federal government usually takes somebody on, the states usually take a step back. I think that's going to be hard to determine because of the political magnitude of this case.
And lastly, PUCO used First Energy's admission of misconduct to roll out refunds to customers. If a not guilty judgment were to be given, would anything change for customers?
No, there's this different standard of proof, and once you enter into an agreement to do those kind of things, that's binding in a settlement or in an agreement with a regulatory body. But in a civil case, the standard is preponderance of the evidence, which means more likely than not, and guilty, is beyond reasonable doubt. So somebody could be found not guilty and still be liable, whether that be an individual or at the corporate level.
Legal expert Brian Kopp, appreciate you spending the time with us.
Good to be here. Take care.